There are some names, some places on Earth that just carry weight. They echo through history. Afghanistan is one of those places, and in this explainer, we're going to dig into why.
It's a nickname that's both epic and honestly a little terrifying: the graveyard of empires. It's a phrase that's been muttered in the halls of power for generations, from London to Moscow all the way to Washington.
But why? What is it about this place that earned it such a fearsome reputation? To really get it, you have to understand two things: the land itself and the long, bloody memory of all those who tried and failed to tame it.
And the first piece of the puzzle isn't found in a history book. It's actually carved right into the earth.
You see, Afghanistan isn't just a country that has mountains. For all intents and purposes, it is the mountains. It's a vast, brutal landscape of soaring peaks and deep, isolated valleys. For centuries, it's been a natural fortress.
And just look at what makes up that fortress. You've got the Hindu Kush Mountains, this giant spine that basically splits the country in two. You have the blistering Registan Desert, and highlands that climb up to almost 7,500 meters. For an invading army, this is more than just difficult terrain, it's a nightmare. It's a landscape that naturally breaks people into isolated groups, making any kind of central control almost impossible.
And get this is brilliant. The connection is so deep it's right there in the name. The word Afghan itself is thought to come from a term meaning hidden or one who has left. It's as if the geography itself named its people, a nation of tribes who knew how to vanish into the mountains to keep their freedom.
That fierce spirit of independence is everywhere in the people. Afghanistan isn't one single unified group. It's a complex mosaic of different ethnicities: Pashtuns, Tajiks, Hazaras, Uzbeks, and more. The very mountains that keep invaders out also separate its own people, forging these unique cultures in isolated valleys that have always pushed back against being ruled by any single outside power.
So you have this incredibly tough land, and you have these fiercely independent people. When you put those two things together, you set the stage for the next part of our story: the Great Wars and the empires who came to test their luck.
This timeline, this is really the heart of the graveyard theory. I mean, just look at the names. It starts all the way back with Alexander the Great, who faced some of his toughest fights right here. Then you have the British Empire, humbled not once, but in 3 different wars. The Soviet Union got stuck in a decade-long quagmire that helped speed up its own collapse. And of course, the United States fought its longest war in history here. You see the pattern, right? Each one arrived as a world power. Each one left diminished.
For hundreds of years, Afghanistan has been a geopolitical chessboard. Back in the 19th century, it was the center of what they called the Great Game, a high-stakes rivalry between the British and Russian empires. Flash forward to the 21st century, and it became the front line of the War on Terror. Different players, different reasons, but the board was always the same. And Afghanistan was always the defiant prize that nobody could ever really hold.
So after centuries of fighting off foreign armies, the battles today look very different. They're mostly internal. The great irony is that a nation that proved it couldn't be conquered from the outside now has to face the monumental challenge of conquering its own problems from within. And the cost of all that fighting is just staggering. A per capita GDP of just over $500. It's one of the poorest countries in the world because decades and decades of conflict have just shattered its economy. The human cost is just as stark. This data shows a devastating gap in literacy. Back around the year 2000, only about 12% of women could read and write. It's a powerful, sobering reminder of the deep, deep societal challenges that come with endless conflict.
This table on opium production tells such a fascinating story about the country's instability. Just look at those wild swings. You see a huge harvest, then a near-total ban drops it to almost nothing. Then it explodes to a record high right in the middle of the international intervention. Opium became a shadow economy, fueling corruption and conflict. Its production rises and falls with the tides of war.
But this is maybe the biggest paradox of all. A country so often defined by its poverty is, believe it or not, sitting on top of a treasure chest.
We're talking about some of the biggest untapped copper and iron deposits on the entire planet, not to mention huge reserves of lithium, gold, oil, and other resources. The total estimated worth? Over $1 trillion. All that potential wealth is just locked away, right under the same mountains that have made the country so hard to govern.
Which leaves us with one final and absolutely crucial question. The Graveyard of Empires is a name that was earned by resisting outsiders. But the real test for Afghanistan now is whether its people can finally bury that past and use their incredible resilience not just to survive, but to build a future of their own making.